I've got Heather Stone with me today, and she's from the Finance Department in Wellington, and we're going to have a little chat about what leadership looks like for her. So, hi Heather.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me. As I said, you're in the Finance Department in Wellington, but perhaps could you just tell us a little bit more about your job and what leadership looks like for you? And I'm also interested to know about the journey that has got you to the place that you're in now.
Sure. So I started working for the Salvation Army in Wellington back in 2006. I've been in my current role since 2012. So that's a little while now. I lead a team that looks after all the operational stuff. I often say the things that make other people's eyes glaze over, but make people like myself who speak numbers as a native language make us excited. So our team looks after getting the bills paid, ensuring that things like bank reconciliations are done, just ensuring that all the nitty-gritty is going into the system. And then we have a management accountant team who then look after the analysis and interpretation and helping people make good decisions with the information that comes out of the system. So I lead that team for the Army.
Cool. And that does sound like something that is not everybody's thing, like you said. And that just reminds me that leadership looks so different for different people. And we need people like you leading in that way. And those things that perhaps are the background things. Leaders aren't always the upfront people with the big title, but how important is it that you do that job in the background? Very important.
So I'm really passionate about using the skills that God has given me. I wouldn't be good on the front line, but I'm passionate about making the numbers understandable to people who don't speak numbers as their first language, so that they can go out and help the people that we serve. And that's really important to me. So I talk to my team about the fact that they're like the person on the sound desk on Sunday, who nobody kind of cares that they're there until the microphone starts squealing and everyone's like, what's going on? So as long as we're here doing our job and nobody's having to turn around saying, hey, what's happening, that frees up our front line to serve the people that God's given us.
That's cool. That's a good analogy. I can relate to that, having done a bit of music. That sound person, so important. So how did you get to this job that you're in?
Yeah. So back in 2006 and slightly before that, my husband and I had a real sense that God was calling us to something different and something new. But we were at Auckland Congress Hall at the time, and we felt a really strong sense of calling to that core. It was where we're both officers' kids, so it shifted around, but we spent our formative teenage years in that core, and so still consider that to be our spiritual home, I guess. And so we'd been through a lot. We learned a lot in that space and had some good leaders. And over a period, about 18 months, 2 years, we knew God was saying to us, there's something coming, there's something on the other side, but I need you to be faithful and just wait. And so one Sunday we were sitting in church, and I'm not an overly airy-fairy kind of spiritual person. I'm a very logical person. It takes a while. I'm not a spur of the moment person. So this is why God gave me 18 months, 2 years to prepare for the moment. We felt God lift his hands off and go, it's okay, you can go now. And that was the strangest thing. We both just looked at each other and said, we're done here. God said we can go, but we had no idea still what go meant. That 2 days later, I got a phone call from a leader that I respect, and they said, there's a job in Wellington that I'd like you to consider applying for. And so I did, and 6 weeks later we lived in Wellington. And there's nothing that could have been other than God's leading in our lives, and that preparatory I've got something else for you on the other side. And so over the years, that's given me complete confidence. So I do feel called to the role that I'm in at the moment. I feel that God wants me in the Salvation Army, using my skills to assist the Salvation Army in their mission. And so I hold that strong sense, and I hold that because I know that if it's not right, God will call me out on the other side. So yeah.
And I love that you felt God directing you very clearly, but that you acknowledge he did it in the way that you needed, because we're all different, aren't we? And for some, it might be something from the Bible that jumps out, or a word someone else says, but you just knew because God knows you and he knows what you needed to have that sense of peace about
lots of time.
Yeah, that's what you needed and that's what you got. And here you are, and however many years later that is now, 2006, did you say you started with the army?
Yeah. So
now,
we're 19 years on the 1st of May, it'll be.
Okay. And so in that time, you had 2 babies, but you have kept working for the army right through. So I'm interested to know, how did that work? How did you juggle being a mum and working?
Yeah. So I have an amazing husband. I have the best husband in the world. We've been married for 25 years this year in October. And so we, for a long time had talked about Aaron being the stay-at-home parent. He's much more suited by nature to being at home. And so for each of the children, I had 3 months maternity leave, and Aaron then took over. So for our daughter, he worked up until she was 3 months old, and then took over. And then for our son, who was born in the November, it was amazing. It felt like we had a fabulous summer holiday together. And then I went back to work in the February. So Aaron's done everything that you would expect mum at home to do. He looked after the children. He took them to their activities. He's looked after the house. He's a far better cook than I ever was. And that's worked really well for us. And so I'm really grateful that we've been able to use our skills that God's given us to work our family in that way. And in later years, he's now working as a truck driver for the family store. And we've made those decisions as a family, with the children, to say, Dad's got this opportunity, and this is what it would mean if we did, and this is what it would mean if we didn't. And I've talked about that with them as we've made every step. So they're 14 and 17 now. And it's just great. And that I've had my bottom lines of things that I wanted to do as a mum. So all bar one exception, I've always taken their birthdays off. I used to work for Mainly Music once upon a time, and so when they were little, I took them to Mainly Music, because that was my special thing that I did with them. Particularly my daughter, I wasn't able to quite so much with my son. But I've been able to have those kind of lines in the sand of, well, this is, whilst I miss out on most of the day-to-day, these are the things that I do set aside a time for just playing the mum role. Wasn't always an easy decision. Interestingly, women seem to struggle more with the fact that I didn't want to be stay-at-home mum. I had lots of people when I was pregnant tell me, the moment you see that baby, you won't want to go to work, which wasn't the case. Our daughter surprised us and came 4.5 weeks early, and we were in hospital for a week. But that meant I still had a couple of weeks of work to go, and so I hadn't finished in my head. So our first week home from hospital, I worked 10 hours just to get done what I felt needed to be done so that I could then relax. Not that having a newborn was relaxing, but relaxing my head is
early. We had one that came 8 weeks early. Yeah, that's just not on my schedule, please. No. So you had a few things to juggle around that. But I guess what I like and what you're saying is that you and your husband worked it out together, and you worked out what works for your family, which isn't necessarily going to be what works for every family, but for you guys, that was the best way of juggling everybody's different roles. So I wonder if you could tell us now 2 or 3 key words or phrases that for you sum up what good leadership looks like.
Sure. So when I was thinking about this question, I thought about the leaders who've been important to me in my life, and what are the values and the things in them that I've respected over that time. And to me, they've been humble leaders. They've been leaders that have walked alongside. They haven't elevated their own position. And that's one thing that I've tried to take on, as I've led my team I don't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't be prepared to jump in and do myself, and that's been really particularly important to me. And the other thing, of course, that I've always respected is that they've been the leaders that have always pointed to Jesus, have always been the reminder that God's got this. The ultimate battle is the Lord's, and God is sovereign. That's what I've really valued about leaders that I've worked under.
Cool. Can you tell us, is there a particular area of leadership that you personally find hard? That, this is a bit more personal question. Is there something that you're really trying to work on in terms of your own leadership?
Having those tough conversations is difficult for me, and so that's something that that I have to work on. And I think going into this year, we're in a real time of change, and nothing stands still. And in describing my journey of moving to Wellington, obviously God knew that I needed that time to prepare, right? So having to constantly be on your toes and in that change, I do find that difficult. So I work at coaching myself through those times of change so that I can then lead a team through that and give them confidence that it's going to be okay. So that this year, I think, we all hope that change is going to slow, but it's not. And there's challenging times to come. And so leading through that with hope for what the future holds. And God's given me a very clear vision that there's something really great on the other side of some pain. So holding on to that, working with other good leaders who encourage that, and just taking that time to do that. That's kind of where I'm at the moment.
That's cool. And it often is that there is something great on the other side of the pain. We have to go through that journey, don't we? We've got to get there, and that's where we learn and we grow, and it turns into something good. But at the time, we hate it. And yes. We wish we didn't. But that's life, isn't it? It's a bit of a roller coaster that we're on.
Absolutely.
Now, one last question for you, and that is just simply, what's the part that your faith has to play in the way that you lead?
For me, just standing firm in that knowledge that this is where God wants me, and that He has been faithful to this point. And so when I look back on my life, I can look at those times that I've gone, well, I'm not sure about this, what's going on, and He's always come through. And so that gives me confidence that He will continue to come through for me. And so it's that base level peace and knowledge that God is there and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, cool. We can always count on Him, can't we?
Yeah.
Always there. He's seen us through before. He will see us through
again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all you do on those invisible things in the background to make things work for the rest of us. We really do appreciate what you do. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching too, and we hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you're up to. Okay.